Gabriella, for joining us in this interview. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and your background and how you are connected in this learning module that you developed?
Sure. Thank you, Vian, for the interview. So my background, I'm graduated in law. I'm a lawyer in my home country, Brazil. And then I decided to delve deeper into human rights and conflict management. And I started a Master of Arts in conflict management and human rights. And I've also always been connected to theater, to art. I've always been part of acting classes, and learning module, I kind of try to interconnecting all those three areas. So I use my knowledge from conflict management classes that I had during my master, and also my experience as a lawyer, for example, in family law cases where you have to mediate situations. I use that experience, and also the experience from art. So we do a lot of role playing, even improvising. And I thought that a good way to approaching, even for people that are not from the artistic world, a good way to approach conflict is through role playing. It's lighter and it makes people express better themselves.
Thank you. Like you mentioned that you have a law background as well as in the theater background. I'm just curious, like how do your other colleagues in your law firm seeing this art element bringing in, or do they do they appreciate that? Do they usually active or be receptive to like a creativities or artistic method, or they're just like, oh no, like we have to stay with the standard and we cooperate. We don't do something, too out of the box.
Yeah. Look, I think is some openness from people in the lawyer sector is still missing. I think sometimes lawyers, of course, they have to know how to communicate themselves very well and to convince and to argue. But sometimes a communication with the public, with other humans, with people that don't know about law is missing, and so they cannot make themselves to be understood. And this is where I think, even in my previous experience working in law firms, the way that I communicated, or if you want to pass some information along to people that are not from the lawyer world, this is something that was appreciated because you have a better way to when you have a better way to communicate yourself, it's easier for others to understand, and I think art helps with that.
How do you think art is helping with the communication or even understanding, what's the meaning or what's the reason behind conflict?
I think art helps with that because you start to understand that conflict is something that is natural, as part of daily life. And with art, you can practice that. You can pretend that you're having a conflict with someone when you're not actually having that. And then when a real situation comes in, you're more prepared, and you can analyze the situation as if you were like a character, and then you're seeing it from the outside, and then you can better analyze the situation. I think this is where art comes in.
Wonderful. And yeah, just out of like curiosity or even like relating to our SIP project, because our project is about bringing in people from the business sector, from the artistic and cultural sector, and also from the education sector together and finding like an intersection point. And you having different experiences and different background and role, how do you see like artists benefiting from learning from like a private sector, or like an educator benefiting from learning from the artists and vice versa?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think that's something that brings together artists and entrepreneurs, people from the private sector, is the fact that somehow they're autonomous. So they rely a lot on their image, on how they communicate with the world. Of course, the artist maybe will have some more freedom to express that, and the entrepreneur has like a closed business in which they act. But both of them are entrepreneurs in their ways. So I think this is something that connects them and makes this module, for example, useful for artists that maybe want to sell their product, maybe want to sell a learning offer about conflict management in a company, or even an entrepreneur that knows a lot about conflict management and wants to help other artists to better portray themselves and to better sell themselves, which is something that sometimes artists lack. Like they have this entrepreneurial mind, but sometimes they lack the more administrative and organizational part of being an entrepreneur. So I think they both can help each other.
And like you going through the process to develop this learning model or develop like a learning offer, like what would be your experience or takeaway or advice for like other artists to do the same? Like what should they keep in mind when they want to develop a course for a law firm or from a private sector in the context of communication conflict management?
Well, I think first they have to have in mind that they are dealing with a different audience. So of course, their way to communicate will not be the same as if they were teaching something to a class of other artists. So they first have to bring about empathy in those who are listening to them, so that they can first connect and understand that both of them, both the artist and the entrepreneurs, can learn from each other. And then they can, once they gain this confidence from the audience that they're listening, then they can develop their own learning module. I think perhaps establish a common ground.
Yeah. So is the key is like empathy and establishing a common ground and knowing your audience and what they actually want. Do you think certain like do you think there are some like artistic or creativity techniques that can help them to be more like easily relating to one another or like increase their empathy and finding a common space to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much time do they have, but I think it's important to always start a session by everyone introducing themselves and what they're doing there. And then you can have some exercise about for them to better connect. So someone tells a story and then the other person has to recount the story that the first person tells. And then they can gather in groups and share some ideas. I think this would be a good way to start.
Thank you. And what do you think is the two main takeaway points from your course? Like, for example, for me as an educator going through your module, what's the two things that you will really recommend me to remember from your course?
Okay. I think when you look in the course, you'll see that one of the main points is active listening. So as trainer, for example, you have to be really interested in the stories that people are telling you and not just only tell your stories, but you have to be practice yourself to be an active listener. And you have to treat conflict as something that is natural, as something that happens. And if you listen to the both parties, you can have a positive outcome out of that, or you can have both parties like satisfied, okay with the outcome. I think those are the two takeaways.
Yeah, just no, I'm sorry to poke actually furthermore when you mentioned active listening. It is kind of like a buzzword, I feel like these days. I'm like, yeah, we have to actively listen. But what do you think are the keys to active listening? How is it different from normal listening?
I think what we live today in society is really it shouldn't be necessary to say that you're an active listener, you could be just a listener, but with all the distractions that we have, internet, social media related mainly, it really is something that we think we're listening, but then we just want actually to, we're just waiting for our time to speak. So as I said in the module, I think you have to first be interested in what the person is saying, not because it's something related to you, but because it's a way for you to have a dialogue, which is essential for us as humans to have dialogue. This is how we recognize ourselves as humans. So I think the difference in active listening is that you don't want just to wait for your time to speak, but you're really interested in what the person has to say and what are their needs, their interests as well.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriela. And I think, yeah, really thank you for your sharing. And I think we'll just bring this interview to an end. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Vian. Thank you.